Welcome to PR Talk, sponsored by the PRSA of Oregon and part of the MPN, the Marketing Podcast Network. This is your host, Amy Rosenberg, founder of Veracity and author of A Modern Guide to Public Relations. Help other people find our podcast by subscribing, rating, giving us a review, or sharing on social media. Hi, everyone. I have Emmy Thomas here today with Logical Position, a national digital marketing agency. Hi, Emmy.
Hi, Amy. So good to be here.
Thank you for coming here. So I'm just going to tell everyone what we're going to talk about today, which is the connection between marketing and culture. But before I do that, I think the audience might see the connection in your career trajectory at LP, which is so interesting because you're in recruiting and employee experience when you first started 6 years ago, and then you moved over to the marketing side, and you're now the VP of brand and marketing. And to me, that just shows the company culture and marketing connection. So I don't know, do you just want to talk about the connection there?
Yeah, absolutely. Like you mentioned, starting in recruiting and spending time in employee experience, and even where I originally started on the sales floor, kind of just was a beautiful collection of different parts of the company that I really got great exposure to. So on sales, I got to learn our product, all of our deliverables and client offerings, and why I loved LP as a provider for small businesses. And then working in recruiting, I really got to understand the offerings that we have for employees, the passion that LP puts behind like creating a great work environment for our staff. And so those two things blended together into me really being passionate about the employee experience side of things. So I worked in that department for a year before then also transitioning into marketing. So it was kind of this domino effect. And where the transition into marketing and employee experience tying together happened is that we just really wanted to ensure that we had the same dedication, excellence, polish kind of on all of our internal and external messaging. And so being able to have my hand in both and oversee both just allows for those things to have the same level of effort and the same emphasis in both areas, and just making sure that the branding is aligned across both, which I'm sure we'll get into some of the deeper parts of that. But it is great being able to lean on culture for marketing purposes and being able to lean onto marketing for culture purposes.
Mm-hmm, for sure. Well, yeah, I mean, culture in a way is marketing if you think about it, especially now with people leaving their jobs. Culture is huge, and also with people looking for jobs. So when you're marketing culture, you are marketing the future of your company because you're looking to recruit and retain. So can you kind of talk about that and how that all kind of works together? I guess what I'm saying, it is more than sales, but then there's also the sales connection too that we could talk about.
Yeah. Well, and it is so interesting, right? Because we, on the employee experience side, basically in a nutshell, my job is content creation, especially in this new, digital virtual format that so many of us live in. And we do have folks who go into the offices, but we also have a very large percentage of our staff that are still choosing to work from home or working remotely. So a big part of the role, both external marketing and internal employee experience content, is creating different pieces of content. So whether that is stuff on Instagram, blogs that we're writing for clients and prospective clients, YouTube videos, which are like highlighting case studies and client testimonials, kind of how-to things. And then we have our internal content, like employee newsletters. We throw full on like virtual productions. So kind of like virtual events for employees, all company meetings, right? So I think there is a very common thread of all of those things. And you can somewhat draw a line of what's content made for culture and what's content made for a marketing tool. But having the two blended together really allows me to make sure that we have equal representation of all of our different products, all of our different departments, different levels of employees across the board. So the fact that I'm kind of like able to be in the center of it all, it makes it so much easier to make sure that we have like equal representation across all of those different types of content that we're creating, both internally and externally, with different purposes in mind for each piece of content.
Yeah, because internally, people that work in
Mhm.
a specific department do want to see their department represented in marketing.
Yes.
But first, I just want to kind of like go kind of back to explain to everybody what the scale of this is, because I'm a marketing firm, but I mean, I could count a handful of employees. Whereas logical position, like I can't even keep track of your guys' growth. Like I want to say maybe now you have 900 people, but I'm always
Yep.
wrong when I say that. So
No,
is
you
it
are
about,
spot on.
yeah. So yeah, just tell me about just the company in a minute. And I've always been really intrigued by your company culture, because to me, your company is the culture. It is the
Mhm.
employees. And maybe tell me a little bit about that, and like literally what is employee experience? I don't even really
Totally, I
know.
know. And it's so different in 2022 than it was back in 2019 and prior, right? So our company culture has always been, I think, mainly rooted in having a very open door policy. Our leadership does a really great job of utilizing surveys and listening to ideas from all levels across the company. That's where ideas for like new strategies, new departments, and new products come from. So that's more of the, like, I guess, the idea generation side of our company culture. But like from the very beginning, one of the core values of LP has been fun, such a plain and simple core value. And so before, when we were all in office, that was very much rooted in having events thrown, celebrating with specialty weeks, like Green Week, for example, where we would do things all focused on the environment and the planet. Wellness Week, focused on employee wellness opportunities and things of that nature. And those things just change a little bit when it becomes a remote environment. So now I think when I think of employee experience, it is very focused on how do we keep communication really strong despite distance? How do we have the opportunity to still make things fun in a virtual setting? So, like, for example, right, it was just recently March Madness. We are always able to do our March Madness bracket challenge through the company. That's just one little example, but something that kind of is on the fun side of things. We throw an annual logical palooza every single year, which previously to COVID was an in-person barbecue. And over the past couple of years, we've had to kind of pivot, find ways to make it a virtual experience. And we've put on like full virtual productions with spoof music videos and cameo appearances and words from our partners like Google and Microsoft. So we've really just had to get created. But in general, the employee experience to me is, and this is actually kind of my personal mission statement for my job, but it's just creating an environment and working towards having LP be someplace that employees are proud to work. And so there's countless different ways that we try to achieve that. But that's kind of the root of everything that we're always working towards, is how do we make employees proud of where they work?
Yeah, and then so when you're talking about all this, there's a lot to say, but with
Yes,
all of
lots
these,
to digest.
well, it's just all of these events and things that you guys do and your offerings to your employees. To me, that is like PR fodder. That's marketing, and it makes me excited. Like, oh, I could totally do this, that, and the other with it. By the way, because sometimes we run out of things to say, but everybody's always interested in culture. And I think from even just a sales perspective, happy employees are going to ideally draw not just clients, but maybe happy clients, right? And so there's that respect that kind of goes hand in hand. When you're respecting your employees, that respect will kind of transition over from the employee to the client. And so I don't know if you have any thoughts on like client retention or marketing and how that connects with culture.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think you said it great. And yeah, salespeople, account managers, even operational staff, right? If your operations team, people in IT, HR, billing, etc., they're going to provide impeccable, better service to the other employees that they're servicing if they love their job and they love their employer. And then that transitions into the client-facing staff, the sales team, the account managers, the product specialists, right? They're going to, create a better client experience because they're excited and happy coming to work. And then, yes, of course, it dominoes into the client having a better experience on their end. So you're absolutely right. I think they all kind of blend together. And it's definitely, with the past couple of years, it's a transitional period. Like, how do you keep that experience feeling the same as how we historically have had it for the 7 or 8 years prior? I can't keep track
Yeah.
of all of our years, right? But yeah, I think that what you're saying is absolutely true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so how do we do that though in a remote environment? And I guess you guys aren't all remote. I think you are, part of your culture is that you're honoring your employees by allowing them to make their own decisions on what, not only what they're comfortable with, but what like actually works for their working style, like how they can be proactive. And what was interesting, I read somewhere or heard somewhere that you guys felt even more productive. You realized that, oh, maybe the office isn't necessary for some, but maybe it is for others that are more social, but some others might get more done out of the office. But anyway, that's just an aside. I'm just curious how you bring employee experience into the remote or hybrid setting.
No, absolutely. I think a big part of it is where it used to be something that the employee experience team could have a direct impact on. We can throw an event, we can do a catered lunch, we can throw a wellness week, right? Like, we used to be able to plan that at our team's level. Now it's more so empowering managers and the leadership of different departments and teams to kind of take that on their level. And so, like, creating a new team building program, for example. We used to have a different format when we were in the office, but now the format is something where we're having to have multiple different versions of what team building looks like. Either your team is all residing in the same city and you can go out and do something together. You have people who are fully remote. You have to come up with a remote experience, or you have a hybrid and you're kind of having to hold 2 different events or still keep it remote. So this is kind of just an example, but we created a system where we really empower the managers and provide budgets to the managers to come up with what's going to be the right fit to engage their team and engage their people. And what we can do on the employee experience team's end is give them all of the tools, give them a lot of different ideas for ways that they could execute team engagement, team bonding, and team building. But ultimately, it just looks different these days, and that's totally fine. It's just kind of like the new era of the professional work environment. But that's one example of, how we kind of engage employees. And then one other thing I'll say, and this kind of comes back to company communication again, is through our employee newsletter. That's kind of just a chance for employees to hopefully just take a little step away from the work that they've got on their plate for that day or that week and just kind of read through different things that are happening at the company. And it's a chance to kind of bring everybody together for a moment, even though they're reading it separately, but it shows, team spotlights of what other groups at the company are doing and working on. It gives announcements and updates. We do giveaways in there and sometimes like fun little games and things like that. So that's something that is very easy to be virtual and gives people an opportunity to kind of see, okay, what are my coworkers working on that might be interesting to me that I wouldn't have otherwise known because we don't have water cooler talk anymore. So just a different way of communication.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And all of this, internal comms is just general marketing. I think because in a way, if you have 900 people, I've said this before, that the internal people are your megaphone for your company. So your experience or their experience and what they say about you is marketing.
Oh yeah. Even when I was in recruiting, that was one of the biggest tools was employee referrals, right? We're going to get the best referred employees or the best employees from other people who say, I've got a friend who has, the same values as me, the same work ethic as me. And I've told them about this company because I love working here. And now they're interested too. So I think that that's absolutely something that aids in just furthering the development of the company.
Yeah, and I just think you guys are doing that really well. And then, but with your other marketing where it's not necessarily related to like internal
Mm-hmm.
relations, I
Yep,
see
external.
a lot of like fun personality in your marketing where sometimes like you guys just have to follow LP on social because they're like I don't know, they have you seem to have this great video department where you're doing funny fun ads showing maybe it's a client or maybe
Yeah.
something with Star Wars, like I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think so. That's just kind of storytelling. How can we make the story as interesting as possible? And this is something that ever since I've kind of joined the marketing team, that I think is a challenge, but it provides a really cool opportunity. Is that we don't have a visual product, right? You can't see what our product is. Our product is a service, and our product is our people. So how do we communicate that and kind of tell stories through videos, Instagram posts, LinkedIn blogs and posts and things like that. And it's just through a lot of storytelling. And so Instagram is a place where we've kind of especially reels lately, Instagram reels,
Mm-hmm.
we've really tried to cultivate that and use our people as they are our product. So like, why would they not be the face of it? This is like another really great intersecting point of culture and marketing. But yeah, we've got a lot of like client stories to tell, success stories that involve both like the client that we worked on their account, found them success with digital marketing, but also like there's people behind that success. And it's the account manager, it's the paid search specialist, the paid social specialist, the email marketing team, etc. And so we kind of just try to use our social media and our external marketing as a way to really highlight, hey, these are our people and this is what they've done for other businesses. We can do it for you too.
Yeah, and I think that prospective clients might just feel better about that by kind of seeing, oh, okay, this person would handle my account, and it doesn't feel, because on the surface it could feel kind of like, oh, that they're such a big company. Who would I be working with? Would it be like a
Mm-hmm.
computer or something? It's like, no, it's like that boutique feel, but with a larger company.
It
And
absolutely is. And what I'll say about that too is I think the fact that we do have a growing client count is only a benefit to each and every client. And the reason I say that is because the more clients we have, the more our people are learning about different types of accounts. So it doesn't matter if you're like an enterprise level client with an extremely high ad spend per month, or, a smaller mom and pop shop or local business with a smaller ad spend. You have the same level of expertise working on both accounts, and they're helping each other because we're finding, new strategies, and our employee base grows as our client count grows because we just need more people to support it. So the level of service does not change at all. I would only argue that it improves because we just have more know-how with the more clients that we're servicing.
for sure. Yeah, and not only that, but also you do have partnerships that a lot of people don't have. But anyway, um, but speaking of just employee experience and work-life balance, I do want to say that a little known fact about Emmy is that she's also a Blazer dancer, which if people don't know the Blazers, that's our local NBA team. So can you talk about how you are able to fit that into your work and why that is important to you?
Yeah, and I've always been there's 18 dancers on our team, and it's of the Blazer dancer team, and
Hmm.
it is a what I like to call part-time job, full-time commitment. And I've always been so appreciative of really, truly like the work-life balance that LP has provided me during. This has been my fifth season. We're wrapping up the fifth season with the Trailblazers right now. And it truly is something where you're kind of just juggling these two totally different schedules. One that's very much Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 4, whatever your hours are. And then the other one that is we have some weeks where we have games and practices every single night. So it is a lot, but I think that LP does a really great job of letting work time be work time and personal time be personal time. And that's a really big part of our culture that to me is like very invaluable, because I sometimes see other people on the team who are working in the locker room, and, you know, we just provide a lot of opportunity for people to do things that they love and pursue passions outside of the office. Yeah, I'm not the only one with like a side passion. Like I know that there's people who are in bands and producing music and, you know, have other jobs as like yoga instructors, etc. Like there's a lot of opportunity for people to pursue other passions outside of their career at logical position. So it is cool. I've always been very grateful that I'm able to do both, but it definitely, on some of those busy weeks, I'm really tired and excited for the weekend sometimes.
Well, there's a lot to say about it because, I mean, just talking about your passions and keeping that alive could also help with, you know, not just being happy, but also creativity for your job, I'm sure. And then the other thing that I always remember, because I think about my daughter because she's in like every sport and
Yes.
she's doing like she's doing
It takes
two
me back to high
sports.
school. Yeah.
Oh, totally. Well, I was thinking like, this does remind me a little bit of her, but she's in two sports and she's studying for her bat mitzvah. So she has tutoring for that.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, but then I always remind myself, if you want something done, ask a busy person to do it. Right? Like that phrase. That's that phrase.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. No, your daughter sounds like probably me when I was in high school, middle school. Yeah. Because and that's the same thing. Like my current schedule is no different than my entire life because earlier it was just go to school and then go to dance in the evening time. So really we're just kind of continuing it into adulthood, into my professional career. Yeah. So she'll do great.
Yeah, exactly. And they do say that about kids, that if they are involved in passions or doing things after school, they will be supposedly more successful in school. And so you could take that also to work, especially just with exercise, honestly. I mean, because it helps you sleep better, helps you probably focus better, all of that stuff.
Yeah, totally. And it provides a secondary outlet to kind of unwind. But yeah, there's definitely times where it doesn't matter kind of what, because I also, with the Blazer Dancers, you know, we kind of as a team are always thinking of fun little things that we can do for like our team Instagram account, our team reels and whatnot. And it is funny how the two will even like overlap. And sometimes it'll give me an LP idea or something that I'm working on with LP with our marketing team. It'll almost give me like a Blazer Dancer idea. And that's just because I kind of have a similar role in both in terms of just always, my brain is always on when it comes to marketing ideas. So it is kind of nice how the two overlap sometimes, but yes, it's just, you're always thinking about the two and it does kind of make it so your brain is always on a little bit.
Well, yeah. And that's why this work-life balance, it's like, well, I just got the best idea I've gotten in a month, you know, as I was driving my car to practice. So there you go. So
yeah, I'm a big see a billboard, it gives me an idea and I need to make a mental note because we need to talk about it in a meeting the next day. Like creativity and like ideas come in the craziest places sometimes.
Yeah. So then I guess kind of maybe last personal question. And I do want to end though with if you have any tips for other companies that might be struggling to bring in culture, if they're small or if they're remote. But my personal question is earlier you mentioned you had a personal mission statement for your job.
Yeah.
And I haven't, I don't know that I've heard anyone talk about that. Can you just tell me how you got that idea and why you have yours, like what yours is about and why?
Yeah, totally. It's funny because my personal mission statement came from Mike Winehouse, actually, our founder and co-CEO. And so it was back before I was even on the employee experience team. I think we were at the time kind of starting to talk about me transitioning into that department. And it was like a very candid conversation about like, okay, what is our goal of our employee experience? Our goal is just, we want people to be proud of the company that they work for. And then when I transitioned into marketing, I kind of saw it as twofold. Like I have an opportunity to kind of like achieve this thing that we were having as our main underlying goal in two different ways. Like internally, do they feel taken care of with being heard, with the benefits that are offered, with a work-life balance, with fun events and activities to look forward to, right? But then like when they tell their friends about the company at a barbecue, or they refer a friend of theirs who has a business to Logical Position because they need digital marketing help, like, are they proud of the external facing aesthetic and marketing tools and content that LP has in place? Are we someplace that they're really excited to show their friends and family that they work at? And so it kind of just, it became woven into like everything I do. I kind of just ask, like, is this something that employees would be proud of? And that's truly like the honest story of like where the mission statement came from. And now I kind of just use that with both of my teams, the marketing team and the employee experience team, to kind of just determine where to go next with certain projects.
Mm-hmm. And can you remind me, what is the personal mission statement again?
Yeah, it's just that committed to making employees proud of where they work.
I love it. Okay. And so now what, like last, tips or advice would you have for someone who is struggling with culture? Because I do feel like you start with the culture first and then maybe you move on to marketing. I'll just say, because you can't. So Kristen, who we all work with here, she says you can't put lipstick on a pig, right?
Yes.
And so I don't know. So I think we should start with culture. So what should we do?
What should we do? And first I'll say, like, culture doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be spending a bunch of money and like showering your employees with gifts. Like that's the lipstick part, right? Like I think that's all great and dandy. But like when we talk about culture, I think that really the biggest tip, and it's like nothing groundbreaking, but it's just like listening to what employees need, and like being open to ideas. Like our company is very much pulling from all directions, and that is how the most effective things are going to get done. That's how people are going to be happy, is when that they feel that they do have a voice. And there might be a reason that we can't execute every single idea, or not every single suggestion is going to turn into an action item. But like the notion that I can be heard at any level, and that leadership is constantly trying to gather information and insights from all levels of the company, like I think that's what cultivates a strong internal culture within an organization. So I think it is just like that open door policy that from the very beginning, like our founders kind of established. I think that's what allows LP to then flourish their culture in other ways.
Thank you. And then that helps us with the marketing side.
Yeah. And then like you said, it's kind of like, then you have happy people, then it kind of dominoes from there. And yeah, the thing, especially with how the work life has shifted, there's going to be hard spots. There's going to be things that people do have concerns about, or things that like there's always low points in every relationship, whether it's like a professional relationship or a personal relationship, right? It's not always sunshine and roses. But it's like being open to listening to those, and then maybe the solution doesn't happen tomorrow, but it's something that, okay, we've noted this and now we can work on this. This is a thing that is important to a big mass of our employees. And then that same sort of thing goes into the relationship with clients. A bunch of employees have noticed, hey, this maybe is a pain point in our service. Let's work on fixing this so we can continue to make an even better service. So yeah, I think it all kind of blends together, but it really is just like an openness to take suggestions across the board and always like work as a team. It sounds so simple.
Well, but that most good ideas are simple. So
yep.
So
no, great point.
Well, that's the other thing. So it's kind of good to hear that it's not all about like, let's go to lunch or things like that we might not be able to do remotely, but we can still meet with our employees or our team and even look them in the eye and not try and do it too often, but just try and hear them out when they want to be heard.
Yeah. Have a one-on-one, do surveys to see how people are feeling. And another thing that we did, and this is, all companies have people who come and go and move on to other careers, or, and so like we have exit surveys when people leave the company for whatever the reason. And exit surveys are also really, really helpful to figure out, okay, great. this is amazing feedback that is only going to help us improve as we continue to grow.
Yeah, because we can all improve, and it's just good to remember that. Well, thank you so much for your time, Emmy. This was so fun.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks for having me, Amy. Always a pleasure to chat with you as well.
Thanks for listening. For more PR insight, be sure to check out Amy's book, A Modern Guide to Public Relations, at prtalk.co. Also, please subscribe, rate, or leave us a review.